Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be doing a beginner's guide to mixing drums in Logic. We're going to be using just Logic stock plugins. It's going to be a very simple video. We have got a kick, 2 snares, hi-hat, 2 toms, overheads, and a hall mic. And we're going to, again, mix them just using Logic stock plugins the best way we can, and hopefully you will learn something from this video. Before we get in, I'm trying to get 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year. It is a big ask, but I know you guys can make it happen. So if you're watching this now, hit that subscribe button right down there. You know you want to hit it. It will literally, it will do so much. It will do so much for me. But anyway, let's get into the video. Let's mix some drums. Okay, so the thing I'm using today is a drum, bass, guitar track. In the next couple of videos, we're going to be mixing the bass and guitar in, but all that matters today is the guitar. Now, let's just get straight into it. So when we're mixing drums, we always want to mix around the kick and snare. They are the main driving force in the percussion. We want to make sure they're on point, because if the kick and the snare are on point, everything else will just blend in and around it, and it's going to sound great. Let's have a listen to what we're dealing with today. First, here we go. So yeah, sounded very roomy. Now, the reason it might sound roomy might have something to do with the fact that we've got a hall mic in there. Maybe the hall mic's overpowering. So let's listen to just the kick by itself. As you can hear, we've got a little bit of leak coming through from everything else, and we want to be able to cut that out. So if we go to our channel, you can press X for the shortcut, by the way. Bring up our mix window. First thing we're going to do is go to our EQ. Now let's have a look what's going on here. Okay, so we're mixing the kick. We want to be able to control that low end, make it really nice and punchy, but not overwhelming. We want to get rid of some of that boxiness, and maybe we want to play around with the higher end of the kick as well, so it sounds a little bit brighter. So, first thing we always do is put in that low cut, and you want to always drag it up to here, play the kick, and then drag it down till you notice that it's not affecting the sound of the kick, because we want to get rid of unwanted noise at this stage. So I'm happy with that. And now we're going to try and find... Do you know what? Actually, no. First, we can do the exact same on the other end. We've got to do it at the high end. The kick, it's quite low end prominent. Because we're getting a lot of bleed from the overheads and the hi-hat that we don't want. So getting rid of that high end it actually reduces that leak that's coming through, just because that's a lot of brightness that we don't need. Like, all the characteristics of the kick that we need are in this section here. Now we're going to add that punch to the kick, and we're going to go looking for it. Nice. Maybe bring up a little bit low end. Wicked. And now we've done that, the last thing we need to do is try and get rid of that boxiness, clean up this kick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring another shelf in here. And you can use this to widen or reduce the thickness of a notch filter, by the way. So now we're going to try and expose this bad sound that we don't want by actually enhancing it. Now, I can tell you the boxiness it's going to be around 300 to 500 hertz. That's normally where the boxiness in anything lurks. So we're going to go looking for it. There you go. So I decided to do it there because you can hear that. That's really, you heard that little like that bong sound. That's when you know that you're on the sweet spot for where that's resonating. And I've just cut that out a little bit, and as you can hear, we've now got a really nice low punchy kick. There's none of that mid anymore, that boxiness. So now we can even increase the high end a little bit without fear. Add a little bit of brightness to the kick. I might reduce that a little bit. And there we go. So I'm happy with that. Let's move on to the snare. Let's listen to both together. Now, what's really interesting is we have the top snare and the bottom snare. Snare is the top, and snare 2 is the bottom. Now, the bottom, it's always going to be that bright, crisp sound of the springs, because the springs are on the bottom of the snare and this mic is on the bottom. So we're going to be extracting a lot of the bright, crisp sound of the snare from that one. And then the other snare, this one I've got selected, we're going to be extracting the punch from the snare to match that kick and get a good balance. So firstly, we're going to start with this. And again, we're just EQing at this stage. So, same rule. Same rule as the kick. We're going to put a low cut and a high cut on either side and drag them out until we're not getting any more unwanted noise, or like we know we're cutting out the sound that we don't want because we can't hear them as audible. Top end. The thing to remember for this snare here is we don't really have to worry so much about the brightness. We want that punch because we're going to get the brightness from the bottom snare. So again, none of this really matters here. We just want everything here from the low mids to the mids, because that's where this snare is punching through. And that's what we're going to find next. Just punching there. And again, if we can get rid of any boxiness, there it is. Makes it sound a lot more clean. Now, again, now we're going to bring the other snare in. Do the same again. Low cut. High cut. Doesn't matter if there's a little bleed, because we're going to do something to control that in a minute. And again, we're going to look for a little bit of punch. We're going to raise it just around there. Nice. And now we're going to... I just realised that they've been down the whole time. Let's bring the kick in. Okay, so now we're happy to EQ. We're now going to compress. Now, what we're going to do here is going to add our compressor to our kick. And we're just going to use the Platinum Digital. We're not going to overcomplicate things at this stage. We just want to use the compressor because the thing is, the kick has a lot of velocity changes. It's controlled by a human foot, so it's not always going to be the same. We want that kick to always be punching, but we never want it to jump out in the mix. So we use the compressor to set a ceiling on the kick, so we always know that it's punching good, but it's never over punching or over the top, and we can control it. So it makes it easier to balance in the mix. So we're going to put a good ratio on. There's that ceiling. Bring up the threshold to enhance some of that low end. I'm going to do -5 makeup gain just to keep the level down. So as you can see, the compressor's now working really well. And you can see it triggering every time the kick plays. And we're going to do the exact same for the snare. In fact, I'm just going to copy it across, again, to keep things simple. There we go. Now, the last thing I'm going to do for both of these before we move on to the hi-hats and the toms is I'm going to add something called a noise gate. Now, you might ask, what does a noise gate do? So a noise gate, you can set a set threshold of when the level of a track gets to a certain level, it cuts out the audio to however you set it. So if you've got a kick playing, but you want to cut out the audio in between them kick hits, you can use the noise gate to eliminate the noise in between each kick. So we're going to set a threshold. We're going to do it for the kick first. And you'll hear it in action. As you can see, it keeps opening and closing. That is the kick and snare triggering. Now, it may sound weird individually. Don't worry about it sounding weird individually, because once we add the overheads, because that's capturing everything, that's going to mask over these sudden cuts we're doing. So don't worry if it sounds weird, especially if we go to the snares, because there's going to be a lot of bleed in the snares. As you can hear, that's working, but it sounds really weird. But that doesn't matter. Because again, we're cutting out the overheads and we're going to eliminate any phase issues as well, because there won't be multiple sets of hi-hats and overheads playing at the same time, which will, theoretically, if the same audio is playing twice, it's going to double the loudness of it. So this doesn't matter if it sounds weird. As you can hear, this needs adjusting a bit more. The only thing that matters is that snare hit. So yeah, so we've got the kick and the snare more isolated. So now it feels good to move on to the toms. I've got this in a slightly order. I always do sort of like the actual drums first and then the cymbals afterwards. So I've got the toms panned. Tom 1's panned to the left. Tom 1's panned to the right. Now this is to start to create a stereo spread in the drums. The drums takes up a lot of the stereo field, and we want to be able to do that. So we're going to put Tom 1 to the left, Tom 1 to the right, and we're going to do the same sort of thing as we did with the kick and snare. So kick, if you want to save time, it does actually have a lot of similarities, the kick and the toms. So to save time, I might drag the EQ from the kick in. Now all we need to do is find that threshold where the tom really punches, and we're guaranteed to have a great tom sound. So we obviously need to find somewhere where the tom plays. There you go. So, right, let's do this. Let's find where it resonates. Keep an eye on here. Right there. Might raise the low a bit more. I'm happy with that. Again, this is beginner. If we're doing advanced stuff, we do a lot more than this, but this is just to help. And again, there's so much that plays in the background. The toms are hardly playing, so most of the time it's only picking up background noise and all the leak through, because it's a microphone set around a drum kit, it's still going to hear things. So we want to have this noise gate to get rid of all this, because what we could do, to get our scissor tool out, we could cut every bit where tom doesn't play, but that's going to take time, you know. There you go. So instead, what we're going to do is going to set this gate. So it's playing nothing, looks closed. And there you go. And again, like, to save time, copy and paste. Put it across like that. How are we doing for time? We're good for time. So now, the tom 2, it's a lower tom, so the threshold's going to be a bit lower in the frequency, so I've adjusted it a bit lower, and it should be fine. Let's have a listen. Yeah, it's a lot lower. It's like down here. And there you go. And now we're going to move on to our hi-hats and overheads quickly. For the hi-hats, again, I can just do this because the hi-hat's a very bright instrument. As you notice, I've got the hi-hat pan to the left. You think about where it is on a drum kit. It's like to the left. We want to create that stereo spread. So I'm just going to cut everything out down here because there's nothing going on here. Now I'm going to add some brightness because we've cut all the high end out of the percussion because the cymbals are going to cover the higher frequencies in the mix. So we've got that for the hi-hat. Now cymbals, like, they vary so much in the velocity, like, because it's with sticks, you can very controlled, so you never really want to compress them because you want to have that natural sound. And it's the same with the overheads. Now, because the overheads recording the whole drums, you get the kick, you get the snares and the toms and all this, but because we've EQ'd them by themselves, we want to cut them out. We just want the cymbals. So I will just do this. And again, I might enhance the high end. Nice. And again, it might sound weird because it's very high-endy. And as you can see, with the panning, I've panned it hard left and hard right because we've got an A-B pairing. One's recording the left side of the kit, one's recording the right. Put them together, that creates one stereo mix where you can hear the whole like image of where everything is. So now let's play everything together. Last one we've got is the hall. Now this is where you can add your reverb. The whole recording basically just recorded the room, so we're picking up the sound of the drum kit and the sound waves bouncing around the room. That's how you get that reverb. So the more we add, the more it sounds like it's in the room. So now we have, very simply done, we have a clean drum recording. It's really tidy, there's no bleed, there's no sort of boxiness to it. And we did it literally using 3 plugins, the Channel EQ, the Digital Platinum Compressor, and Noise Gate. And I hope this video has been helpful, but this has been a beginner's guide to mixing drums. In the next video, we're going to be doing the bass, and then after that the guitar, and after that we'll go more advanced on it and do more techniques. But I hope this video made sense. Please drop a comment on what you thought of the video, and also again hit that subscribe button. Let's get 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Or I'll also leave the link to the playlist where I've got all my other beginners videos for people using Logic. But yeah guys, I hope you enjoyed the video and I will see you in the next one.